this agriculture webinar. This session shall be co-chaired by Vice Chancellor, Barani Agriculture University, Dr. Kamruzzaman, and Mr. Malika Fat Tiwana, President of Farmer Association of Pakistan. I have the privilege of welcoming Dr. Tulal Sadi, Dean, College of Agriculture and Marine Sciences, Sultan Qaboos University, Muscat. I also would like to express my gratitude for his presence to Mr. Javed Qureshi, President of Pakistan Engineering Council. I have to acknowledge that our first episode was extremely successful. 123 people were logged in and out, and at the end we had 92 persistent participants. The report was already prepared and submitted, which is already posted at the website of Pir Mir Ali Shah University of Arid Agriculture, Al Maroof Barani University, and it's also available at the website of Pakistan Academy of Sciences. The whole transcript of episode 1 is videotaped and made available through YouTube, again at the same websites. Today's episode 2 is organized on the subject of precision agriculture. The precise title is Precision Agriculture Technologies, Sustainable Solutions for Enhancing Productivity. We have a long list of speakers, so I don't want to stay in between you. But before I ask speakers one by one, I will first ask Dr. Kamruzzaman to open the webinar with his opening remarks. By way of introduction, for those of you who are not aware, Dr. Kamruzzaman is Chair of Precision Agriculture at Dalhousie University. He has a career in precision agriculture. Currently, he is serving as Vice Chancellor, Pir Mir Ali Shah University of Arid Agriculture, Rawalpindi. Over to you, Dr. Saab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iqrar Khan, ex-Vice Chancellor, Faisalabad University, and Professor Emeritus, for introducing me. As you mentioned, this the title is Precision Agriculture and Technologies for Enhancing Crop Productivity. I will just try to share this screen, if I can do files. Just a minute to share file if I can.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so I will just briefly introduce this precision agriculture. Most of us already know these technologies and their advantages, benefits. So I, as Dr. Iqrar Khan mentioned, I have been working in this area, research and teaching for last 25 years. Completed my PhD from UK and then worked in for the citrus to develop variable rate technologies for citrus production, and worked 1 year in Japan, Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technologies in precision agriculture, and then I have been working in Dalhousie University for last 13.5 years, and last year I joined Agriculture Arid Agriculture University, Rawalpindi, as Vice Chancellor. So this if we see why we need these technologies, but in this graph we can see population increasing trend, and developing countries like Pakistan, you can see more increase in population. So in 2050, if you see, we will have more than 9 billion people to feed. And if you see that arable land, potential for cropland, after 2010, this curve is almost flat. So not much increase, number one. And number two, you know that price increase in energy and agriculture inputs. and then climatic change is very important factor affecting crop yield and this. So we need to think about that, especially in Pakistan is agriculture country. So to develop technologies for not only enhancing crop productivity, but it also take care of environmental pollution and reduce, minimize that impact, these technologies. And secondly, most important is the cost of production, farm profitability. So that is extremely important. So if you see the precision agriculture, we define like everything that makes the practice of farming more efficient, accurate, controlled, and profitable when it comes to the growing of crops and raised livestock. So I summarized in this flow chart this precision comprehensive precision agriculture program. So this precision agriculture technologies, you can say from field to fork, like land preparation, then quality seed production. Then we need technologies to for precisely sowing a seed and plantation. And then other management practices like nutrient application, water, we need to use each and every drop of water, we need to use each and every grain of fertilizer, then disease management, then precise harvesting, because harvesting losses, you know, that increase cost significantly. So we need all these mapping technologies to investigate different technologies. We know we will, the other audience may be discussing in those experts in precision agriculture we have today will discuss more. Then we need to develop those or implement those techniques for site-specific or spot application of those agriculture inputs. So, and fertigation technology, precise irrigation, and liquid fertilizer, then precision harvesting. We need management information system, digitization. Then we need to see the impact of this, all those technologies on socio-economic, environmental impact. Then we need to introduce these technologies and some innovative technologies that then, because we have been working in the universities, need to prove the concept, and then we need industry cooperation and other institution cooperation or linkages for commercialization and then commercialization at large scale. So precision agriculture mainly, you know, we wanna reduce the amount of input by applying according to the need of plant and soil, not uniformly. So it will lower cost and increase productivity in order to increase farm profitability and increase efficiency of agrochemical, and that obviously lower environmental impact. So for to achieve those goals, we need to mechanized our farms and then automate and digitize. So after that, what we can do that we can commercialize those innovative technologies. We have to develop highly qualified human resource and that we can achieve with the strengthening networking with national, international, like today, this Dr. Ikrar Khan is helping us to organize this seminar, and Arid Agriculture University, that team we built there in the last 1 year. Dr. Chima is leading in that team. He worked in center, center at UAF under the supervision of Dr. Ikrar Khan. So that what we are doing today, that is collaboration or networking with our international partners. We were to learn from Dr. Chang, Dr. Travers, Dr. Farouk, and then our own institutes like NUST, we have our distinguished that speaker guest from NUST, and then LUMS, and then Namal University, we know, and some other under and this these and some industries also started working on this, developing precision agriculture technologies. So we want to collaborate and develop linkages with industry and these nationally, internationally to develop and implement those technology. Obviously, after that, we need to transfer those technologies to those our stakeholders and skill development, the capacity building. So if we see the evolution of precision agriculture technology in 5 decades, in 1970s, we know that US government gave that code for GPS, to use the GPS for agriculture purposes. And then before that, we know that only US military was using this. Then in 1980s, introduced geographical information system. Then we started grid sampling, mapping of soil, plant, yield monitoring, mapping up. Based on all those, developed variable technologies, sensor-based and map-based, both. So, the GPS availability, actually, President Clinton gave this, that was not very accurate, a few meters accuracy, but in 2000, we have that more accurate code, and now you can see those accuracies up to centimeters. So then in early 2000, the advances in digital cameras and we can use now advanced high resolution satellite imagery. Google Earth is a big source, open source software with wireless data networking, communication, RFID, Bluetooth, and then smartphone and mobile computers. They brought big change in this area. Multi-core CPU that is 10 times maybe faster than GPU, 2G, 3G, 4G cellular data services, and auto steer. We have those now, our vehicles, controlled field traffic, precision planting, as I mentioned, and drones and affordable aerial surveyings, artificial intelligence, this deep learning neural network. And I have seen one presentation from our one of our guest speaker, and you talk about this deep learning technique for machine vision, improvement in robotics and machine vision, mechanical harvesting for specialty crops, because you know that for this high-tech smart farming, we are, I will discuss, we want to go for that project. So specialty crop, high value cash crop are important in this. So I don't want to take much time because our experts will discuss more on development and implementation of technology. But one or two slides I will share with you. This is one example from University of Florida when I worked at Citrus Research and Education Center, and this fertilizer spreader, automated fertilizer spreader. You see sensing and control system, didn't use that GPS or GIS. This is a spot application, real-time detection, and apply fertilizer according to the size of the tree. If you can see that what video, it can change rate on both sides according to the size of the tree, and stop in between the gaps. So this technology that now Florida growers started using this technology, and saving up to 40% fertilizer, and also reduced that contamination in groundwater. So same way you can see that sprayer only spray on those trees, and we can save a lot more in those gaps. So then this, I borrowed slides from our collaborator from University of Florida. So he tried for this in citrus, different smart automated fertigation systems. So this is conventional and fertigation, micro sprinkler and drip irrigation. And this one is the setup of this system. And if you see that the result, so with this drip irrigation was that was the very effective and productive system. You can see that after 3 years, they were able to get that fruit in full, this tree with citrus. Almost it's after 5 years. So this system, and use that liquid fertilizer. Liquid fertilizer, I think 10 times more effective than this. Then the same technologies we tried. Actually, these technologies not only, some people think, for maybe developed countries, but it is all most, I think, applicable in Pakistan, Pakistani conditions, more applicable. And we can develop cost-effective technologies there and directly apply it at a farm level. So this technology is for all cropping system and all regions, and not only agriculture cropping system, but livestock dairy development. So the some technologies we modified, and one example is again this for sprayer. So we divided into, then Dr. Travis is one of our this speaker from Dalhousie University, and now in charge of pursuing agriculture program there. So he worked on this during his master PhD, and still developing some more technologies for digital agriculture. So you can see this sprayer components and divided into different sections, those and individual control of the nozzles, only using that sensing system and cameras, and develop on software to differentiate weeds and bare spots and plants. So in wild blueberry crop. So with this technology, saved I think for 30 to 40%, 20 to 40% fungicide, and 60 to 80% herbicide. So, and then one project we did 6-7 years, this precision harvesting technology. So this harvester was commercialized in 1980s, and yield was 2,000 to 3,000 pound per acre at that time, wild blueberry. But now with management practices, yield is almost 10,000 pound per acre. So the loss was 20%. So our team worked on this and used those precision agriculture technologies for plant characteristics, for field conditions, machine parameters, and some students completed PhD. But we were able to develop these fact sheets for the farmers and operators and in manufacturer. And if you see this one, how much efficiency we increase when we replace different components, same harvester. So 8% yield which is head, and 50% fruit quality, same way 70% harvesting efficiency. So this one example. So based on this, we know those technology advantages, accurate placement, application of agriculture input based on our experience, reduce cost of production, less environmental impact, time and energy saving, maximum residual limit, and benefits, reverse out migration from rural areas, attract young people, improve job opportunities, ensure basic services, develop potential output by improved connectivity and digitization of rural areas, ensure a balanced territorial development, improve the quality of life. So based on all this experience, last year at Arid Agriculture University, I tried to recruit a few of our those faculty, IT, engineering, crop sciences, and then livestock. So we were able to got that PSTP funding for this precision agriculture and digital agriculture center at Arid Agriculture University. So we have excellent team there built in last 1 year, and we are in the process to initiate that. So I'm very happy to see Chairman Pakistan Engineering Council, and we are very much really encouraged, and because we always need support and help. They have been helping us. We have new engineering faculty there, and we last year Nasir Khan from Pakistan Engineering Council, he also helped, and other colleagues there, and we have that accredited last year. This new faculty and new equipment there. Other than this precision agriculture project we are going to start there, we need their support. And also today we are thankful Dr. Ikrar Khan helping and organize this international that and Mr. Afaq Tuana is progressive farmer and have been helping, because I have been collaborating with this Precision Agriculture Center at UAF with Dr. Ikrar Khan, Jahanzeb Chima, and Dr. Afaq Tuana has been working very actively and closely. So that is big support from him. So we will learn today, and hopefully we will develop, and Dr. Chang and other our NUST colleague from and other organizations, and we will get benefit from their discussion today, and we continue working with them and to develop and apply technologies in Pakistan. So thank you very much. We will share again and with this. So yes, Dr. Ikrar Khan, please.
Thank you, Dr. Zaman. Let's move on to, let me get my list. Where is the, just a moment. Well, while I'm trying to figure out the next speaker, I would like to welcome my mentor, Kausar Abdullah Malik. He is also in the audience, and a special welcome to Vice Chancellor Dost Baloch from Las Vegas University of Agriculture and Marine Sciences.
Thank you, Dr. Ikrar. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you very much.
Our first speaker from Dalhousie University is Dr. Travis Issa. He will speak about advanced mechanized system to increase farm profitability and improve environmental sustainability. Over to Travis.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So hopefully everybody can see the PowerPoint brought up on their screen now.
PowerPoint.
All right, so my name's Dr. Travis Issa. I'm an assistant professor at Dalhousie University. I am here to give a talk about some of the research that I've been working on over the years. I've have a long working relationship with Vice Chancellor Zaman. The title of my presentation today is Advanced Mechanized Systems to Increase Farm Profitability and Improve Environmental Sustainability. So to start things off, I want to introduce the term mechanized systems. So precision agriculture, you can't see the slides?
No.
Okay, let's try this then.
We can't see.
Yes, no, not yet. Travis, you have to share your screen.
Yeah, it was supposed to share the PowerPoint, but
No, we can
Now it's
see.
okay.
No,
Very
good.
good.
Yeah.
All right, so the title of my presentation is going to, you can still see it?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see.
Very good, very good. Advanced mechanized systems to increase farm profitability and improve environmental sustainability. So what I want to do is introduce the term mechanized systems. So precision agriculture has been defined, and it's a well-known term for several years now. It's very important, and it's the way of farming for the future. So mechanized systems actually is a very traditional term. It's been incorporated for a century in terms of agriculture. So mechanized agriculture and how its role has came to be is it's helped to increase the efficiencies of traditional farming practices. So several years ago, of course, farming was 100% manual. And so it was very labor intensive, very difficult to be able to cover large area with just the manual labor that was available. So mechanization has the ability to increase the productivity of a single worker. So with that, of course, it's evolved over the years. Some of the things that have increased the productivity or the mechanization of the agriculture world has been the farm tractor. And so they keep getting more technologically advanced, they get bigger, they get more efficient, fuel efficient wise anyways, and they have many more electronic features that allows precision agriculture to take effect. For example, GPS. GPS is able to very, very accurately allow the mechanization components, the tractors, the implements to travel exactly where they need to be in the field that they're working in. And so other components of mechanization that are coming into play more and more frequently every year. Of course, drones is a major contributor to mechanization and precision agriculture right now. Computers, of course, goes hand in hand with the technology that's used in agriculture. And of course, GPS, which has been around for some time now, but every year it seems like they're getting more accurate and more applicable to the farming operation. So this is a photo I always like to start with to be able to introduce mechanization or precision agriculture. And so those of you that aren't familiar with the wild blueberry cropping system, it's a naturally grown crop native to northeastern North America. And what you're looking for in this image is the wild blueberry plants that are growing along the bottom part of the image and also along the top edge at the back, and there's a little bit on the right-hand side. So those are the wild blueberry plants. In between the wild blueberry plants, you can see that there's weeds, there's some grasses, moss, there's bare soil. And one unique thing with wild blueberries is that they don't, they spread naturally by rhizomes under the soil. You can't plant them by seeds. They're not cultivated. So that being said, it's extremely important to be able to have precision agriculture to manage this crop. So commercial products to be able to apply fertilizers, herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, they apply uniform blanket application across the field. But it's very evident in this image that the field is not uniform. There's different things spread across the field. There's soil and crop variability. There's grasses and weeds that are growing in different sections of the field, and then bare spots. Bare spots are something that is very uncontrollable. You have to work around them, but the only way to effectively work around them is to be able to have the technologies available to not waste chemical in those bare spot areas, because the bare spot areas are 100% non-productive. You're not going to get any yield off it, and so why waste the inputs on those areas? It's not very environmentally sustainable. So if precision agriculture and mechanized systems technologies are used, the benefit of it, you're going to be applying less agrochemical. That being said, you're going to be applying less, so you're going to have the same yields and with a lesser cost, so you're going to have better farm profitability. And at the same time, since you're not wasting those chemicals in those bare spot areas, you're going to have less environmental pollution. So there's been an evolution of different technologies that have been evolving.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is noise only in my computer or other audience can hear?
Yes, sir, there is a noise.
Yes, sir, there is a noise.
Okay.
Is there still noise?
Something wrong with your microphone.
Yeah, still noise is going on. Yeah.
Still no improvement?
Your video, maybe it will help if you turn off your video.
I
If you
think,
check.
yeah.
It's noise is going everywhere, I think.
Okay.
Couldn't listen in properly.
Maybe due to rainy season.
If we turn off all the videos, that will definitely improve the delivery.
So let me know when you can hear clearly. Is there any
So again, something is with the
Travis,
Can you hear me or no? Any improvement?
no. This some
Can I sign out and then sign back in again?
yes. Try please.
Sure.
So,
Is that any improvement now?
is Travis coming back?
Better.
Is it better
Okay.
now? Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Let's try this again. All right. Can you see the slide we left off on? Very good. All right. Just keep me posted if it does go bad again, but let's keep moving. So there's been a transition of different technologies that have been progressing over the years. This is one of the first boom sprayers that was developed for spot application in the wild blueberry cropping system. This system used a prescription map based targeting procedure to be able to target the weeds that were growing in this field. With this technology, it required manual labor to either go out in the field, map the bare spots or the weed patches that were either trying to be targeted or avoided, and then do some post-processing to be able to get the sprayer's coordinates positioned properly with the applicator, so then when it's deployed in the field, it's going to open and close the nozzles in those proper locations. The other option with this type of system using a prescription map is using aerial photography to be able to use image processing to distinguish the locations in the field that need the application applied, and then you're deploying it on as a prescription map for your sprayer. Some of the disadvantages of this type of system is the amount of labor that's required. Both the image processing using the aerial photography is labor intensive, and also at the time GPSs were very costly. This was over 15 years ago, and to have an accurate GPS, it was quite costly. So what we looked at in the research more recently is applicators that can work in real time. Real time being right in the field, it senses the target and makes a reaction or a decision in real time to be able to either apply or keep the nozzles off. And so this was one of the first set of sensors that was tested, and it was to be able to detect some of the taller weeds that were growing in the field. And so there's a few different techniques that were used. One sensor was an ultrasound sensor, ultrasonic, and it was detecting the height off of the ground. And so when it was calibrated, it was able to detect weeds that were growing above the blueberry canopy. Blueberry is a low growing crop, so it was quite flexible to be able to detect those tall weeds because the wild blueberries were so short. The other was using an infrared transmitter and receiver. So when a weed would actually come in contact and break the beam between the receiver and the transmitter, it would detect that as something that should be targeted, and then it would open up the nozzle that's on the rear sprayer boom. And so this was a small prototype proof of concept to see which sensor was working best. And then once we found the sensors that were adequate, we deployed it on a small ATV with nozzles that individually would open and close based on where those tall weeds were growing. So this was a diagonal set of tall grasses that were growing to be able to test the on-off action of the solenoid valves, and it was very readily known that it was doing what it was supposed to do. So we went to the next level and actually tested it in the wild blueberry field. One of the shortfalls with the ultrasound or the height detection of weeds is that there's certain times of the year where the weeds aren't quite tall enough to detect in reference to the wild blueberry plant. So we had to look at alternative options to be able to target those weeds. Color cameras, RGB cameras were the next technology that we used to be able to turn on and off the nozzles. And they were very successful. So driving across the field, the cameras are continuously scanning the ground. When the custom developed software detects something that was a target, for example, in this case, we had our sprayer suits on that day. It was a very hot day, but we were applying a fungicide. So a fungicide was to be applied to the productive wild blueberry plants. And the idea was to ensure that we didn't waste the fungicide in those bare soil areas. And so we're targeting the green blueberry plants and shutting off in the soiled areas. And it was able to reduce the fungicide rates that were applied. This is a video showing the system working. The bare spot areas are the lighter colored, and the nozzles were shutting off in those particular spots. With the technology, of course, larger fields, larger farms would be using larger equipment. So we wanted to make this a large size applicator. And so we went with a commercial size sprayer. This is a 45-foot commercial sprayer that we retrofitted to be able to accommodate the RGB cameras on the front boom and the individual nozzle control on the rear boom. So you can see going across this field, not all the nozzles are on, just the ones that the cameras were detecting the target weeds in front of those nozzles. So it's very relevant or very obvious that there's significant reduction in chemical using the spot application technique. So taking that one step further, because technology has came such a distance in a short period of time, especially with the computing speeds, with what we used on these applicators. So we're able to actually decrease the camera to discharge distance from in front of the tractor to be able to have the front boom removed. And we were able to put the cameras just 15 centimeters in front of the spray nozzle and still travel at our ground speed of around 4 miles an hour to be able to target those specific weeds. So it was able to act very, very, very fast to be able to limit the amount of resources that are required to retrofit that tractor. Instead of having a front boom, everything was mounted to the existing commercial rear sprayer boom. So that's a very huge benefit for somebody trying to retrofit their commercial sprayer that they already are using. Where we're going now, there's specific weed species that are being very troublesome for at least the wild blueberry growers. And one of those such weeds is the fescue grasses. Fescue grasses are very hard to control. And one of those reasons they're hard to control is because of weed resistance. There's some commercial products out there that have worked great in the past, but over time, potential resistance has caused concern for growers trying to effectively remove those target weeds. And so curb is traditionally what's been applied for several years now, but it's expensive, and we want to make sure that we vary our inputs so that we don't get developed resistance. So there's a research project right now that's to use a granular herbicide. Instead of using a liquid herbicide, we're going to switch to a granular. In this case, it's called Casseron. The problem with Casseron, it's very, very expensive. $180 per acre for curb is expensive. Casseron being about $500 per acre is extremely, extremely expensive. Not practical for any blueberry grower to apply uniformly. So it shows the importance of having a spot applicator. The hurdles with that is commercially, there's not a herbicide applicator that can apply a granular product spot specifically. So we have a research project to be able to do exactly that. As far as the machine vision goes, we need to actually target just where those fescue tufts are growing. Instead of applying to all the green weeds in the field, we need to make sure that we differentiate the difference between a green fescue plant, a green blueberry plant, a green moss plant or sheep sorrel or any other type of weed. We want to target just that fescue plant because the cost of the herbicide is so expensive. And so this is a video showing a graduate student's research that is to be able to use deep learning to detect just where those fescue plants are growing. And it's very effective at actually reducing the amount of inputs that are required. As far as the target accuracy goes, with proper data sets, you get large variability with different fields, but if you collect enough variability in your initial data set, you can really get good accuracy. So with the fescue plants, we're getting above 96% target accuracy where the weeds were present, and the false positives were just under 4%. So it wasn't too bad. There's a lot of potential with this type of image processing technique. This is a slide showing what the applicator looks like. So this is a pneumatic applicator that was commercially bought as a granular fertilizer applicator. So from factory, it has two boom sections. It turns the left section or the right section on, depending on toggle switches that the operator would be hitting or a prescription map. But we wanted to take it much farther than that. So we're developing a retrofit kit that's looking at individually controlling all 12 of the nozzles that are on that are going to be able to turn on and off based on where that fescue plant is growing in the field. As far as the chemical savings go, with the wild blueberry cropping system, where a lot of the research that we've been doing has been concentrated in, huge potential savings. It's not a huge industry Canada-wide. It's concentrated in Eastern Canada. So if we look at Eastern Canada in the northern state of Maine, there's about $30 million worth of savings in that area alone each year. So that's huge, huge. And this technology, of course, is transferable to other cropping systems as well. Vice Chancellor, there's a man already showed a image of a hoop sprayer, but this is one that the apple growers were very interested in having the opportunity to demonstrate and apply in their orchards around this area. And this is a hoop sprayer that's able to target how big the tree is, the location of the tree, and then on off the nozzles accordingly. A major research project that has been ongoing in my campus we've been working on is the mechanical wild blueberry harvester projects. And so there's several components to look at to be able to improve the efficiencies. There's the harvester management strategy, basically what type of weather is optimal, what timing, early season, late season, what are the efficiencies, what are the losses, how can we increase the picking efficiency of the harvester. And so there's been master's and PhD students look at different operating techniques to be able to increase efficiencies, what type of mechanical modifications were required to be able to increase the harvester's efficiency. And then finally, where we are right now is trying to automate that. We now know what the settings that are optimal are, but we want to make sure that it doesn't matter if it's a new operator or experienced operator, we want to make sure that we maintain the optimal settings throughout the day. And of course, with fatigue and distractions, it's easy for an operator to lose efficiency. With these harvesters, they're very reliant on a skilled operator. So automation is very, very important. So this is a video showing a commercial harvester. So this is a dual picking head machine. It has a rotating drum that gently rakes the blueberries from the vine. It transfers them up a conveyor and then to the back of the harvester where there's storage totes. And these storage totes are where the berries are stored. They're dropped in the field, transported back to a carrier truck and trailer, and then it goes back to a receiving shed and then the processing plant for final product cleaning and freezing. So looking at that, we needed to make sure that the operators knew what settings work best instead of trial and error. We set up the plots, actually did the different replications to see which settings worked best in which conditions, simplified it down to a set of operating conditions that the growers could actually follow to be able to help them stay at the optimal setting in varying conditions. Other things that were looked at, berry quality is very important, and the processors put the ask out to reduce the amount of debris that's collected during harvesting. And so we looked at some different techniques to be able to do that. And one of the important facets of the process is how the debris is removed in the field using air. And so there's traditionally a fan that's blowing debris off of the nice fruit before it gets in the box. There was a study to help find the optimal amount of air required that would remove the debris but not remove the good fruit. And so that study was able to help develop a new fan system that was able to very accurately get rid of the optimal amount of debris while not reducing yield by throwing berries out the back and being wasted. So this was in collaboration with Doug Bragg Enterprises. Stephen Bragg was the mastermind behind all the fabrication that was going into these modifications, and these are now available commercially for growers to be able to take advantage of the research and the R&D that went into that. The next stage, which we're currently working on, is using imaging again to be able to monitor quality, berry quality, fruit quality in real time. And so there's a graduate student that's just wrapping up his master's thesis that's looking at the development of an automated debris detection system for using convolutional neural networks to improve fruit quality. Another project that is very exciting based on the ability to detect in real time ripeness. So traditionally, it was based on personal viewing of the field, how ripe is the field, when is the optimal time to pick that. You've got to use your best judgment. To try and reduce the inefficiencies with that type of process, we looked at using image processing to develop a model to detect the amount of ripeness in the field. And so this is a deep learning model that's actually detecting the amount of blue blueberries, the amount of red or pink blueberries, and the amount of green blueberries in the image to know the percent of ripeness. And so based on that percentage, it can help you determine harvester scheduling, and potentially it will be used to be able to estimate yield in the field as well. Other things that have improved efficiency and mechanized the blueberry industry is the use of the automated bin system. So manually, the boxes were transported on the back of the harvester, but with mechanization, big bins reduced that labor, got rid of the labor, and it was able to automate the process, and with that was able to increase the picking time by about 22%, which is substantial. More recently, we've been working with automation of the mechanical picking reel itself. There's several adjustments that the operator is required to control throughout the day. It's not too bad when there's only a single picking reel, but when you have 2 picking reels, 3 or more, they have multi-headed machines up to 5 harvester heads right now. And it's very difficult to keep the optimal setting on each of these machines. So looking at some different automation techniques using control systems with feedback to know exactly what the position of the head is, and also looking at some sensors to be able to automate that whole system. So we've been testing some different radar systems to develop a technique to measure the ground location and any objects that are potentially going to cause damage to the harvester head. And testing that, we've been able to find the optimal radar, and now we're looking at incorporating that into the mechanical harvester to be able to automate that head even more. What's the next step? There's always new R&D projects and always new research that is important to move into. And so, of course, with mechanization, we want to decrease labor as much as we can, and multi-headed machines is able to do exactly that. With these multi-headed machines, there's a lot of things going on at the same time, and sensors, control systems, mechanization is very important to be able to make these efficiencies moving forward. So there's many research activities that will be incorporated moving forward in the wild blueberry industry, and looking forward to them. And finally, I want to just wrap up. This is a research project that's ongoing right now in the strawberry industry. I'm working with a grower that's looking at automating the process of trimming runners. It's very labor intensive right now. It's going to use a robot to be able to cut those runners instead of using manual labor. And so it's a major reduction in labor and efficiency gain. So with that, I'd like to just acknowledge some of the collaborators and industry partners that has helped the research get to this stage. And we'll wrap up with questions probably at the end of the webinar, and look forward to talking with you then. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Ladies and gentlemen, before I request our next speaker from South Korea, I would like to inform you that during this talk, Syed Fakhr Imam, our Federal Minister for Food Security and Research, has also joined the webinar. I will request Syed Fakhr Imam to say a few words before we request the next speaker. Sir, over to you. Syed Fakhr Imam. Let me.
Hello.
Ji, sir. Sir, over to you, sir.
This is Syed Fakhr Imam here from Islamabad. I'm very sorry I'm a little late. I just walked in. I had we had to pass a bill in the National Assembly. I was called in there, and I had to go to another short talk. And again, I've just come in to just add a few words, because the subject fascinates me, as it does the rest of the world, because precision agriculture and sustainable solutions is the future of agriculture. But as with any other field of endeavor, the agroeconomy of Pakistan can grow as well and as fast and as futuristic as our overall economic underlying functions. But I think one of the areas that we need to concentrate on in the future is how we use our water resources. I think that's one of the critical elements of futuristic Pakistan. We have about 104 million acre feet of water at the start, and then when it gets distributed through the canal irrigation system, which has been in place now for nearly 150 years. And some of it's been reasonably well maintained, others is not as well maintained. However, we have also gone in for a good deal of tubal irrigation, where we are using subterranean water. And after the Indus Water Treaty, 3 of our rivers were retained by us for our exclusive use, the Indus, Chenab and Jhelum, and then Ravi, Satluj and Beas into India. We had 2 dams, replacement dams in Darbela and Mandla, which have held us in good stead. And now we are building the Bhasha Jama dam, for which bids have been accepted, and it's under construction. And Mr. Imran Khan was there recently inaugurating. But what will impact precision agriculture on farm water management? And I think there are 2 elements there. One is drip irrigation. Drip irrigation in some countries, like Australia, Canada, and European countries, has totally transformed the agro economies, where low yielding, low value crops have been replaced by high value, high yielding crops. Similarly, in Pakistan, we have started along this way, but we have a long way to go. And in fact, I think one of the areas that we need to build up very large, comprehensive research systems, both at the federal and at the provincial and at the local district levels, because Pakistan is fortunate in our geography. We have different zones of economic growing zones, because we have amongst the highest mountains in the world, and we go all the way down to the sea. Also, we have some non-crop desert lands, and then we have the largest basin of irrigated system in one area of nearly 25 million acres. But sustainability of having drip irrigation, sprinkler is even less is used. But what we have to really develop are indigenous technologies. Right now, for most of our technologies, we have to depend on outsiders. Some of them are very considerate and have been of great assistance to the governments, the state and the people of Pakistan, but somehow we have not as yet so far been able to, on a large scale, been able to manufacture the kind, the quality and variety of the machines that we need to make drip irrigation within the reach of the low-income farmers in Pakistan. And most of our farms are held below the level of 25 acres. So we need to have that kind of technology which will make the farmer with smaller holdings be able to invest, be able to bring about the paradigm shift, the quantum jump, whereby they can go from low-value crops to high-value crops. The markets would also have to be simultaneously developed. The infrastructures, both in terms of machinery, both for sowing purposes, for harvesting purposes, for all the agricultural purposes. And I think mechanization overall needs a complete transformation in our economy. And these are the kind of areas that I think we need to dwell upon, because Pakistan, as I said, has the, unfortunately, the weather zones, but at the same time, we are one of the most impacted countries due to climate change. We are one of the 10 countries which are susceptible to climate change globally. So in that sense, and recently our wheat crop partially was hit by rust and partly by more rains than normal, and I think we were about 1.5 million tons less than a requirement of 27 million tons. Hence, we have to undertake import of wheat to stabilize our prices in the country. But I think one of the other areas where we have non-irrigated areas, I think where we can use the equipment, and for that also we perhaps could go in for solar technologies more in areas such as Balochistan, in areas such as Punjab, in areas in the KP, and some few areas in Sindh. And we've already introduced that, and with the costs of this type of equipment having gone down over a period of time, it's become more affordable, more competitive, more cost effective. And I think these are the kind of initiatives we Pakistanis need to take so that the farming community, the grower community, especially those who, and because of the law of inheritance in Pakistan, size of holding has continuously gone down in the last several decades. And in fact, many farmers find it difficult to sustain. So some of them are either give it on contract basis, or one of either their kith or kin or people around them takes it on lease, so that economies of scale can be built up. And I think cooperative farming at one time was in vogue in Pakistan. It's not there so much today. although now we have some companies and some of coming in from China with local partners have started, for instance, in Balochistan, in virgin lands, started growing cotton. I believe there are some of them even experimenting with colored cotton. So these kind of niche things have been taken up. The provision of internet, the provision of digitalization, and how we can even use Superco's satellite imaging for the whole of the country, where estimated elements can be put to use, and how we map out our total agricultural landscape, and whereby we can even sometimes predict the kind of production we're likely to get. So this, I think, we need to have a overall larger long-term policy, short, medium, and long-term, on how we can transform our traditional agriculture, which is more traditional today, from a productivity point of view, and also we need to build up silos for wheat storage, because most of our wheat units, when we used to have more than our needs, they were under canvas and not properly stored with full storage. And we need to have a value addition of our, especially our fruit, our vegetables, where we can add value to our cropping systems. And the marketing and the retail and wholesale marketing, so that the consumer gets for what he pays. And in that sense, we require really an outlook which can compete and can modernize. If countries like China can transform a whole continent of 1.3 billion, in 4 decades, Pakistan surely can start moving in that direction in the next 3 to 5 years. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for your word of wisdom, and we will keep you updated. We are compiling briefs on every episode, and you will kindly look at it as soon as the brief of this episode is done.
So I apologize that I've just come in and I've taken part and I have to go because I have certain commitments. I hope you'll forgive me for that. Thank you so very much.
Yes, sir. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our next speaker, Mr. Sun from South Korea, Changnam National University. Sun Chong will speak about variable rate fertilizer recommendations based on image-based grass growth. Over to you, Dr. Chung.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So can you hear me very good?
Very clear.
Okay.
Are you looking very
go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you here like this, and thank you very much for the invitation to this wonderful webinar. My name is Sunok Jung from South Korea. I'm a professor at Chungnam National University. And my topic today, before that, I will show one video. It's an autonomous mowing tractor we developed a few years ago. So using GPS, it travels and mow automatically. And at the same time, it detects grass growth and do variable rate fertilization based on this grass growth status. And from that research, we published one paper as a sensor comparison for grass growth estimation. So we compared three different sensors: CCD camera, ultrasonic, and crop circle to compare the performance to estimate grass growth status. And then second paper we publish is this variable fertilizer recommendation for grass production by image-based grass growth. So today I will give presentation for this topic. Okay, so is it clear? So my PPT is clearly shown?
Yeah, clear, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so I will start from background and a little bit explain about the concept of this project and then some results. Yeah, actually, Korea, grass is not a big business. Rice is a major crop, and there are other kimchi vegetables. But today I will talk about grass. Grass is very useful in many countries and in many different purposes because it provides functional, recreational, and ornamental benefits to human activities. In Korea, why some farmers grow grass? Because economically the benefit is 2 or 3 times higher than rice production, and grass growth management does not require complex processes. But grass growing major two operations such as fertilization and mowing are very important operations for high quality, and periodically, maybe once a week or so, need to mow periodically for uniform and better growth. But practically, growth is not uniform over the entire field. And that because, yeah, look at this photo at the left bottom. Some area grass is growing better, but the other area, the growth is less. So variable rate fertilization would be an effective method for high grass yield and reduce fertilizer use. So for successful variable rate fertilization, first sensing of grass growth should be done and understand the variability. Based on the variability, we need to recommend fertilizer based on the grass growth. So the objective of this topic is to recommend variable rate fertilization based on image of grass growth status and to demonstrate the performance under different field conditions. So this is a concept of this topic. So first, we need to sense grass growth. And in this paper, we use CCD camera. And after some processing and calibration, we can do variable rate recommendation. And for that, we use the geostatistics to understand the variability. And for mapping, we also did interpolation. So this is the specification of the CCD camera we used. So resolution is this like this, and it has camera speed up to 30 images per second. And we did this test data acquisition for from 3 different grass field showing different levels of coverage density. So 90% of coverage, 70% of coverage. So And this is 50% of coverage. So grass growth level is greater here, higher here than this condition. So this is the platform of our data acquisition. We use this more tractor, and using GPS, we did autonomous traveling and then georeferencing. As I mentioned, we tested 3 different sensors, all worked very well, but today I only explained about 60 camera image. So for calibration, we used one line of area and then 20 points from each field. So 60 points from 3 fields were used for calibration. And also whole field image acquisition was done for whole field demonstration of variable rate fertilization. And based on this image, by a skilled expert, growth levels and fertilization level also quantified and grouped. So this is the scheme of calibration, data acquisition for calibration sectors. So from this, following this line, we took the image, and then from the image, using some processing, we calculate color image segmentation index, CIS, and using this CIS, using classification by a skilled expert, we have this kind of graph. It showed a linear relationship between this segmentation index and grass growth. So this is the 20 calibration points for each field. And then this grass growth level and then fertilizer level also calibrated using the knowledge of skilled horticulture scientists. So this graph is for field 1, and the same procedure was applied for field 2 and field 3. And then for mapping, we used geostatistics. Using this variogram, we modeled the availability structure and used for interpolation of this grass growth and also fertilization map. And this is the result. So using this R-square and RSS, we choose appropriate models. And then this is the equations of the models we used. And then selected models for different field, the field 1 and field 2 and the field 3. So this is the map, results map for field 1. Grass grows at this 90% coverage field show very good growth level, okay, more than 9. Most of the area show this red color. And fertilization level very low because grass growth is high. In this case, compared to uniform fertilization, we calculated that about 24% of nitrogen could be saved. And for the next field of 70% growth, yeah, some areas the growth was good, but other areas maybe the medium level of growth. And fertilization, some areas more fertilization, and some areas less fertilizers. So average about 16.5% of nitrogen could be saved. And for the low, less growing field, most of areas were growth levels were very low, and then more fertilization was required. And in this case, about 19% of nitrogen could be saved. Yeah, so this is a simple example of precision agriculture technologies from sensing to variable weight fertilization in the grass field. So I'll just finish the presentation right now and then open for some questions.
Thank you,
Okay,
Professor.
thank you very much.
We will move on to the next speaker and we will gather the questions at the end. Our next speaker is our own Dr. Itazaz Farooq. He is Associate Professor at Prince Edward Island University, Canada. He'll speak about application of deep learning and AI, artificial intelligence, for sustainable water management. I think you have just heard Minister emphasizing water management. So over to you, Itazaz.
Thank you, Dr. Ikrar Khan. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, you are clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So, thank you, Dr. Ikrar Khan, and thank you, Arid Agriculture University, Pakistan Academy of Science, and in the leadership of Dr. Zaman and Dr. Ikrar Khan putting this webinar together during these difficult times. I think this is a good way of linking and information sharing. As Dr. Ikrar Khan said, my topic for today's talk is on the water management using machine vision, deep learning, and AI techniques. So I just wanna slide it.
Raz, you are not audible.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes. Yes.
And slide is, I shared the slides. Can everybody see the slides?
Yes. Yes, your slides are clear.
We can't hear you.
Voice is not coming, sir.
Okay. All right. So we all know about the sustainable development goals, and I try to link this presentation with the two goals, which is achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture, and sustainable development goal number 9, build resilient structures and sustainable industrialization. So we all know that agriculture is having challenges, that is food security. It does have income challenges. It does provide employment opportunities. And also it is posing a bit of issue with the climate, which is in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why we all need to promote sustainable agriculture to mitigate the climate change effect, at the same time improve the productivity and food security, and improve the food quality. So the global population is increasing, as Dr. Zaman said, and he shared that, and that requires that we need to look for more food and fiber so that we can improve the increasing demand of the food. So in this particular presentation, so this is very topical, as the Minister, Federal Minister Agriculture, Fakhr Imam said, that water is a very precious resource and we need to manage it right. Here in Prince Edward Island, we are also in a similar issue. Since we are an island, So all of our agriculture is rain fed. And the government is under a pressure that they really don't want to allow the irrigation or well drilling because of the public pressure, because they don't really want to face the issues like Australia, the seawater intrusion and the bad water quality and whatnot. So this project was proposed by the provincial government and the federal Ministry of Agriculture, and one of my graduate students, he recently completed on that. So on Prince Edward Island, which is the smallest province of Canada, that produces about 25% to 30% of the Canadian potatoes. So it is a potato country. And also it contributes significantly to the economy and provide a lot of labor force to the province. And majority of the agriculture on this island is rain fed. So now with the climate change, so we have seen that there are the patterns and the distribution of the rain is changed. Now it is more to the fall but not in the growing season. So that also raises some questions on the sustainability of potato industry and the job market in the Prince Edward Island. So now the provincial government wanna sustain this industry because of the economic importance and because of the labor market. So now, because of this, so this study was proposed and they want the university to investigate that how can we be sustainable in terms of water. So now the precise water management for agriculture, so that requires accurate estimation of evapotranspiration of the crop water need. And then sustainable irrigation methods, which is drip, sprinkler, fertigation. So those methods with the in-house fabrication need to be implemented with the ease of changing and operation so that we can save water. And then at the end of the day, since if we are going for the irrigation, so ultimately that's gonna affect our aquifer. And then we need to monitor that how our groundwater is changing. So this study, the goal of this study was to model the evapotranspiration using artificial intelligence for water management, and then apply that different irrigation systems, which is sprinkler, drip, and fertigation, compare it with the rain-fed control, and see what is the profitability on that. And then at the end of the day, use deep learning and machine vision techniques to monitor the groundwater level so that the sustainability is not at risk. Since this is an island, we cannot afford the groundwater to be really down because of the sea water intrusion issues. So the first objective, currently the FAO 56 method is used for the evapotranspiration, so which is very time consuming and it requires a lot of variables. So if I propose this equation to a grower, they are not interested to look at it. So they need a simple solution so that they can find out what their crop needs in the particular time. So we published this paper in the Applied Science Journal with my grad student. And for this one, for this particular estimation or prediction of the evapotranspiration for crop water needs, so we selected 4 sites in Prince Edward Island. And you can see that the lower map for the Prince Edward Island, we try to cover the province from tip to tip, so that we can have a very generic and general estimation of the crop water requirement across the island. So we applied advanced technology. So in this particular study, we used recurrent neural networks and using the long and short-term memory, and then bidirectional long and short-term memory. So the neural networks, they work like a human brain. So they feed the logic, and based on that logic, it is predicted. And machine vision, deep learning, and AI are very, very advanced techniques these days to be used for precision agriculture. So now when we compare the FAO 56 with the LSTM method, which is deep learning long short-term memory method, so you can see the red lines are right over the black line. So that means this method was accurately predicting the evapotranspiration. And we got the accuracy, which was over 90%. And for the second model we used, which was bidirectional long and short-term memory, again compared it with the standard method, and our accuracy was again over 90%. So now based on this, we identified and we concluded that the artificial intelligence was able to predict the evapotranspirations to determine the crop water needs in Prince Edward Island. So now based on this, so we are in the process of developing an app, which we are going to make it available for the growers through the provincial government, so that they can estimate at what time they need to irrigate their fields. And we are calling this supplement irrigation for the sustainability perspective. Here is the more pictorial view. You can see the evapotranspiration with the rainfall, and here is the gap. That gap need to be filled for the effective irrigation requirements, and also to improve the productivity. So now the second objective was to look at the different irrigations method. First, we determine what is the crop water needs accurately. The second, we want to now implement those needs based on our proposed recommendations and kind of see what happens. And we published this article in Sustainability Journal. So we use three different methods: sprinkler, drip, and fertigation. And also we compare it with the control, which is a standard practice here on Prince Edward Island. So here are some pictures of during the experimentation when we were collecting the data. So this is just you can see the rationale for the project. So if you look at the June, July, and August, which are the peak growing months for the agriculture, so the rainfall is way too less compared to the crop water requirement. And now if we get into September, October, when we are at the tail end of the growing season, rainfall is way too high compared to the needs. So now that means in June, July, and August, we do need to irrigate to fill that gap so that we can supply the plants with the water that is needed. And that is somewhat related to the climate change, that the rainfalls are shifted more towards the fall compared to the growing season. So now, as I said, we had three methods. Compared with the control, we have completely randomized experiment, and we did the data collection throughout the growing season in 2018 and 2019. And then we analyzed the sustainability and profitability. So in both years, sprinkler irrigation performed the best compared to the other treatments. Although in terms of water saving, drip was the best, but yield was slightly lower than the sprinkler. And we determined there were few issues with our layout, that since the drip irrigation is not very common in Canada, so we had a bit of issues with emitter placement and their placement along the furrows. So that has a bit, so we are trying to replicate this experiment one more year to see if we put those emitters at the right place, whether the drip and sprinkler are comparable when it comes to the sustainability. And in terms of payout, so again, the marketable yield was higher for the sprinkler irrigation when compared with other treatment methods for both years. So now, since we were going for water suction and irrigation, supplement irrigation, so the next step was to do the full sustainability analysis and find out how it actually impacts the groundwater level. So for this, we studied, we selected three sites, Baltic and New Dominion, and we had the weather station data from both of those sites, and we wanna model our groundwater as a function of stream flow, evapotranspiration, and several other variables to see how much is the fluctuation in groundwater. Is it going really down and is causing a serious threat for the sustainability, or it is okay? So this we published this study in the Water Journal, and again, this is my MSc student work, and so for this one, we again used machine vision and deep learning, and in this particular objective or goal, we applied the multi-layer perceptrons. So again, the deep learning methods, input layer, hidden layer, which is the processing layer, and output layer. And then, so these are the coefficient of determination for different variables. You can see stream level, stream flow, and several other variables. And then what contribution they are making towards the groundwater methods. So now the idea was to come up with one or two variables which can effectively and accurately determine the fluctuations in the groundwater. Again, if we come up with something which is conclusive or that includes few variables, then the application get questionable because the growers won't be able to collect that data to apply these techniques. So the idea was to make it simple, bring the app out, and so that everybody on their iPhone or the Samsung phone or whatever, wherever the app is compatible to see what is the sustainability. So here, this is a prediction accuracy for the actual groundwater, which we collected from the monitoring wells, compare it with the LSTM, convolutional neural networks, and multi-layer perceptrons. And you can see, so here is the training period, which was for 2011 to 2016. So we use that data and kind of see what is the fluctuation. And you can see the lines are very, very matching up. So that means these models, deep learning models, were accurately predicting the groundwater fluctuations. And the way we did it, so we modeled that as a stream flow and stream depth. So that data was available for these years, and the accuracy was above 80%. And here in the testing data set, you can see, especially on the top, which is New Dominion. So the black line is way too down, which is actual, and the other predicted models were a little too high. There was a little bit of gap. So in this particular area, we know that there are 2 processing facilities, and those processing facilities, especially during the month of September and October, when the potatoes are harvested, a big quantity of water is being sucked out of the aquifer to wash those water for the processing facilities. So that's why those unrealistic peaks are there. So, but if you go on the Baltic side, which is down, so the prediction was very accurate using those machine vision and neural network models. In conclusion, so we concluded that deep learning and machine vision can be used for estimation of the crop water requirement, and that is also linked with the Pakistani agriculture, where we can apply these techniques to estimate the ETA and tailor our irrigation based on the requirement rather than flooding or even different frequency and timing for drip and sprinkler. So that will be more accurate. And secondly, we did found that the groundwater we were able to predict accurately as a stream level, so only one variable with over 80% accuracy. And then the results suggested that to monitor the groundwater fluctuations in relation to supplement irrigation to ensure sustainability, so that we cannot compromise on the groundwater and aquifer and go for like over irrigation to challenge the sustainability. So at the end, I would like to acknowledge the different federal and the provincial funding agencies, industry partners for their support to this project. And now I have a PhD student who has further taken on this initiative to do an island-based water budgeting and modeling to see how sustainable, given the snowfall and water, all the water balance, who's looking at that. At the end, thank you for your attention, and we will have an opportunity to have questions at the end. Thank you, Dr. Ikrar Khan, for the invite.
Thank you, Intizaz. We will have questions at the end, but I would like you to clarify in simple words How is deep learning different than tensiometer?
So deep learning is different in tensiometer in a sense, Dr. Ikrar Khan, that once we have a calibration done with the tensiometer or the well or any other equation, then it is the memory base. So it can retain that memory, more the data, more accurate it is, and then it's going to do the predictions. You really don't need to go back to the field again and again to collect your data.
Okay, thank you, Ikhlas. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to next speaker, who is actually not available now, Dr. Waqar Qureshi, for personal reasons. So over to Azim Khan from University of New England. Is precision agriculture achievable in Pakistani agricultural system? Azim, it's a very sad story, so I don't know what he is going to say, but let's listen to him. Azim, I have sympathy for you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Ikrar Khan. Thank you very much, Dr. Qamar Zaman, Vice Chancellor, Harvard University, and everybody for joining this webinar and paying attention to see and solve our problems. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Maybe Itlaz has to remove his screen and then Azim can come in.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now Azim, yours.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So as Honorable Dr. Ikrar Khan said, that maybe I would have a sad story to present. So I apologize in advance if I, fumble words or if I say something which you don't like. So is precision agriculture achievable in Pakistani agricultural system? Okay, so situation in our agriculture sector. If we look from a farmer side, on the farm, apart from our farming land size, land holding, we have stagnant crop yields from years. Our farmers follow conservative farming practices, and as a result of that, we are wasting our resources, which includes fertilizer, water, seed, and many other farming resources. And our farmer rely on conventional crops a lot. And there is a status quo. Status quo, it's a human nature that we resist change. But this status quo is a fairly, going for a long time in our agriculture. So apart from two revolutions, the industrial revolution brought in agriculture machinery, and then there was second revolution, thanks to Haber-Bosch and Norman Borlaug. Because of them, maybe this world population is growing so much because we were able to produce our basic food, wheat crop. Also, farmer has a limited adoption capacity. Farmer does not have skills. On government side, if we look at, if you look at government departments, agriculture departments, the employees there, we need to upgrade their skills as well. And also, the emphasis in government departments as well is not research for development. So in academia, you can count on fingers how many universities are doing or running precision agriculture programs. So there was one group, strong group doing that in Agriculture University UAF, and now there is a group doing it in, most of them are same people. They are doing precision agriculture in Harvard University, Rawalpindi, and maybe one or two more, maybe one or two in industry, but not more than that. So, and let me tell you one story regarding the limited capacity of current government departments. So I had the privilege of doing a study with Dr. Ikrar Khan and other people, Dr. Chima and most of the people in the audience. We did a study of defining agroecological zones with FAO, and we were collecting whatever available data for soil, for water, for other their environment and other biophysical parameters. And it was very hard to get soil data. The data which we received, we used that data, and there were many issues, data gaps, and also government was running a program called Extension 2.0, which was, they were digitizing soil properties at Punjab scale, the entire province scale. So it was a couple years ago. After that, I joined International Water Management Institute, and I happened to work on a water accounting project. And I needed soil properties map. I needed soil chemical, physical, properties maps at a resolution like around 250-meter scale on ground. And I had global data set available. And when I was in Pakistan, I didn't know that this data is available. So probably, I think we lack in capacity, something which is already available on the table, looking at us, but we don't know how to use it, or we have no information or no access to it. On the other side, government is, the crop diversification policy, there is a little bit change. We can see coming on, government has started supporting like cotton and oilseed crops like sunflower and canola maybe. But still, it's not a kind of comprehensive crop diversification policy. And our agriculture curriculum is outdated. So the agriculture curriculum was developed maybe 60 years ago, and it lacks, modern agricultural curriculum. Students are not trained to be data scientists. Their data analytics skills are very weak, and also their breadth to the current state of affairs in agriculture in Pakistan is not up to the mark, I would say. And also government need to introduce the tech adoption policy. So I'll move forward with the, to sensitize you the scale of the problem. If we see productivity is amount of crop produced per drop or per unit of water that we consume. We are the lowest in terms of productivity in the region. We are more than 10 times below US and almost more than 4 times below than India and 2 times below than China. In Pakistan, we grow wheat crop at around 21 million acres, and majority of that crop is flood irrigated. We talk about so many sophisticated technologies. We know that Dr. Qamar and other people, Dr. Qamar Zaman, most of you know that, had this variable rate technology patent 2 decades ago. And 2 decades ago in Canada, this technology was patented, and it has been gone further, beyond that, as the sensors and other improvements in GPS and other devices came. But where do we stand in Pakistan? We are still flood irrigating. So at a point when I was also taking part in developing or providing a policy input with the Dr. Iqrar Ahmed Khan, we discussed this point that at least in government water policy, government should pinpoint that farmers who are using tube wells for irrigation, at least they should use tube wells on drip irrigations. They should not use tube well to flood irrigate. They should not put this resource to wastage in that way, even if they are mining ground aquifers, then they should use it on drip irrigation at least. So coming back to the scale of the problem, 21 million acres is harvested with the wheat crop, and we apply 6 irrigations. Right now, you have listened to presentation from Etazaz. I think he just put in field trials and used machine learning and artificial intelligence to give a solution to the farmer. So no sophisticated machinery or device was used. It is just a solution to make a decision when to irrigate and how much to irrigate. We have now access to data, weather data. We have access to sophisticated algorithms. We can calculate crop water requirement on field by field basis using satellite imagery. We don't even need to go to the field, into the field. But how many farmers are using these tools to irrigate their fields? How many farmers are using these tools to decide when to irrigate and how much to irrigate? So we are providing 6 irrigations, 2 inches each, to wheat crop. Correct me if I'm wrong. If we can save two of these irrigations, you know how much water we can save? We can save water equivalent to the entire Tarbela reservoir of Pakistan. We can save water at least 9 to 10 million acre feet. So this is just from the one single crop which is grown everywhere. Now coming back to that FAO agroecological zone study, this is the government figure. A government spends almost $6 billion on food imports in 2016-17. Out of the 6 billion, almost 3 billion were spent on edible oil imports. While we were doing this agroecozone study, we prepared crop suitability maps, and it turned out that in the areas where we are producing wheat crop, that is also with the average or low average yield, we can produce canola in those areas, which can solve our problem for oil imports. So the question is that where is the trade-off? Do we need sophisticated machinery? For some technologies, yes, we need. For example, for variable rate technology, yes, we need sophisticated machinery. For precision sowing or precision plantation, yes, we need sophisticated machinery. You can, this is not exhaustive list. You can provide an exhaustive list for that. But my point is that we should first go for the lowest hanging fruit. So we should see where are the trade-offs. I'll show you. Is it necessary to go with the hi-fi machinery, super sensors into the field and collect the data? It could be necessary in some scenarios, but it is not in every scenario. So let's talk about tree crops. So this is the recent study. We estimated fruit yield in tree crops using satellite imagery in both the cases. And this is very, how should I say? Yeah, so using satellite imagery, nowadays we have Planet, we have Sentinel, we have Landsat. With the progression of technology, the ground resolution is improving day by day. So in old days, we had 250-meter ground resolution. Now, then we have 30-meter, then Sentinel came, we have 10-meter, then Planet came, and there are commercial satellites which provide resolution of the scale of sub-meter, like 50 centimeter or less than that. Using those satellites, we are able to map the canopy of the trees, like this one. This is the LiDAR image from satellite. So we were able to accurately estimate the canopy size, and based on this canopy size, all the on-ground operation that we are doing, for example, variable rate technology application, fertigation, disease monitoring, yield estimation, these are nowadays done without the sophisticated sensor going in situ and collecting data in field. So I think I would end by saying this, that we need to increase our capacity in manpower, especially because most of this data with the progression of technology in the world is available free of cost. Even it is available with the cost, but minimal cost from commercial satellites. So, to move forward, to save water and to, estimate yield and help with other problems in our agriculture sector, we should go first with the using these high resolution satellites. And I just focused on satellites because other speakers have focused on other precision agriculture areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reeb. You are very lucid and precise. And we'll carry on and go to our next speaker, which is again our own Dr. Jahanzeb Masood Chima. Chima will speak about current status of agriculture in the country and role of universities. Chima Saab.
Ji sir, thank you very much. Everybody is listening me? You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you. Please.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to share this. Yeah. So is it okay now? Everybody can see it. Perfect.
Yes, we can see it.
So,
Yes, sir.
okay, sir, thank you very much, sir, for providing this opportunity to listen to the world-renowned scientists in the field of precision agriculture and allied technologies. As far as, you know, artificial intelligence was also there, and deep learning was there, and some variable rate technologies, and all those technologies which are being used in the world, specifically in precision agriculture. And that's really impressive as well. And here I would like to, you know, also thank to our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Qamar Zaman, for getting us familiar with this precision agriculture technology 15 years back. I mean, he came, I think, in 2006 in Pakistan, and at that time he was talking about variable rate technologies and all those stuff. And we were looking at him that what type of things he is talking about. So, but now, you know, he was telling us about the Canadian perspective, about citrus, about variable rate sprayers, spreaders. So at that time, it was really, you know, hard to digest for the Pakistani community that this type of sophisticated equipment and machinery can also be used in Pakistani farm settings. But now, I mean, when we look at our Pakistani agriculture, so it's very important, you know, to go through those precision agriculture machineries. I mean, we are familiar with all these statistics that agriculture area is 26%, contribution is 18%, that's fine, employment per million is 45%, and we're growing like good crops, wheat, rice, cotton, maize, sugarcane, and fruits and vegetables. But the important thing is that the food insecure population, which is still 47% of total. So that's really, you know, food security threat for us as well. So, I mean, this is important, but if you look at the neighboring countries like China and India, you can see that for all those crops, cash crops, they are almost double. Their yields are almost double from us. Even Indian yields are also. I mean, I was just seeing 2 days before, it was like 1.5 times more than Pakistani yields. So it's really you know, we still have to look at that, why this is happening. And I think the real, but another thing is subsistence land holding. You see over here, it's about 12.5 acres of land is considered to be subsistence land holding. And that is 89% of total Pakistan. But if we talk about China, it's about 1.5 acres only. Although its families, their families are small, but I mean, still they are getting 1.5, getting, you know, good yield from 1.5 acres that can be considered as subsistence land holding for them. So, and I think if we have like 25 acres of land, even then we are unable to, you know, be good in the farms. So we have to, you know, look into the reasons, and all those reasons are well understood. I mean, everybody knows we have degraded land and soil quality, inefficient use of fertilizer and agrochemicals are there, and seed. I mean, seed is always a big issue in our farming system. I mean, we are having seed adulteration and all those things that actually restricts seed germination. Then the conventional crops and growing methods, we're still, you know, sticking with those traditional growing methods. And then, of course, lower yields and profitability. Here, I actually want to show a map of India and Pakistan that is basically wheat water productivity map for both the countries. Here you can see that in particularly in Indian side of Punjab and Haryana, although they are abstracting a lot of groundwater, but they are using that groundwater very efficiently. So their water productivity, I mean, the kgs of wheat they are producing with unit amount of water, it's very high as compared to Pakistan. I mean, if you look over here, this is about more than 2 kgs per cubic meter. But in Pakistan, we are hardly getting up to 1.5. That's maximum some areas where we are actually using groundwater, in fact. So this is really a thing that we have to look into as well. I mean, I actually put in this slide, I try to put, all those things which our distinguished presenters were actually talking about. They were talking about sensors, they were talking about drones, they were talking about satellites, and then some sort of eddy-covariancy or evapotranspiration measurement instruments. So I try to put all those in one slide, that we need a system which actually have, all those IoTs, artificial intelligence, deep learning in agriculture. So that should be a blend of all those technologies. That's not only, one technology or one part of that can create revolutions, but we have to consider all those bits and pieces into a single one, so that we can actually, get good yields. And moreover, if we talk about those steps, it could be good seed, it could be soil mapping systems, it could be monitoring and monitoring mechanism, either drones, either satellites. We have to do for land preparation, and then sowing, of course, precision planters should be there, and all those things. Then crop management. We talked about irrigation. Etizaz was talking about irrigation, that our irrigation should be very smart. Then, of course, fertigation is there. Then nowadays, drone sprayers are getting in. They're also being used for monitoring and, other things. Then variable rate technologies. Of course, harvesting is important. You see, if we go, look at 2-3 years back, everywhere we were having those old combined harvesters for harvesting of wheat and rice. Now in Pakistan, they are actually turning towards kabuta for rice harvesting. So it means that the people are actually, trying to, they are adopting those technologies, but it normally takes some time to adopt these technologies. Even nowadays, they are actually working on those rice transplanters. They are actually using rice transplanters for transplanting rice, because they know that with labor, simple labor or transplanting, it's they are getting like 40 to 50,000 plants per acre. So it's not, but the recommended is like 80,000 to 1 lakh plants per acre. So to get more yield, they have to do this type of, things. Now, I would turn towards what we are doing at UAAR, because I joined this Arid Agriculture University 6 months back. And over here, under the leadership of our Vice Chancellor, we actually, revived our hydroponic system. And you can see that it can produce a lot of tons of tomato and cherry tomatoes and bell peppers and all these things. But their marketability is an issue. Our honorable minister was also talking about markets. So we are producing this type of good stuff that is actually, we can say it's safe from all type of fertilizers and pesticides. But I mean, even then we are having some hard time to get the market. So that's one issue, and I will talk later that how we are going to solve it now. So there are some indigenous research examples as well that I would like to share. That if we do some single or 2 or 3 type of technologies, we can actually increase our yield. So this is one example, that we put an auto steering system on our millet tractor. That's a 385 power steering millet tractor, and we put that auto steering system on it, and the results were really amazing for me as well, because we got 3.5 months per acre more yield by using this auto steering technology and without auto steering. So it means that about 4,000 to 5,000 rupees per acre. And if you multiply that to 4,000 to 2 lakh acres, then you can see that how much money we can actually, save with this. And yield is of course increasing. Similar is the case with drone sprayers. That's actually, getting familiarity in Pakistan, and people are trying to, use those drones not only for spraying pesticides, but also for locust control and all other, this type of things. But it's important that when we are using sugarcane and maize and rice, so tractor mounted sprayers cannot, spray really on these type of crops. So we have to go for those drones, and we have to develop some policies and regulations for that. So we actually checked it, and 30 to 40% of saving from in agrochemicals. It's really, a good thing that we can actually do for our farm settings. Then comes this variable rate agrochemical spraying. Dr. Zaman was talking about this type of sprayers in Canada, and we actually tried over here in Pakistan and developed some collaboration with the local industry, spraying industry, and try to use the sensors. And then you can see that we are actually spraying those agrochemicals only where it is required. And in some cases, we are having small crops then, or the plants, then it's not spraying over there. So this type of small gadgets and small things, this is not much costly because I was looking at that. The normal sprayer, a uniform sprayer, we are having about 2 lakhs, and this sprayer is like about 5 lakhs. Although it's double the price from that the normal uniform sprayer, but the savings of agrochemical is about 40%. So it can balance the money and other things. Now, there are some projects we are actually working on at UAR, that's Added Agriculture University. We actually, won the National Center of Industrial Biotechnology of worth about 1,440 million PKR, and we are with special focus on medicinal plants. These precision agriculture technologies will be implemented on developing medicinal plants. And the second thing is the pilots on digital smart farms. That's also, we want to develop some pilot projects for the smart farms for exotic vegetables, crops, and fruits. And then we are also working on agricultural mechanical complex, that a single house R&D setup with indigenization and standardization of smart agriculture machinery. But I also want to, update our audience that yesterday we were having a meeting with the Chief of Army Staff at GHQ, and over there we actually proposed we actually asked some favors from the chief, that as far as this hydroponic is concerned, we are having, or even precision agriculture is concerned, we will have very good exotic vegetables and crops and all those things, but we need niche markets for those exotic crops and vegetables. So we requested him to look for those markets specifically in the Arab countries and this region, so that we can, whatever is being produced, whatever is being produced, that we can share over there. Similarly, if we have this agriculture mechanical complex, then in that complex we will be able to indigenize and standardize all that machinery which is really needed for precision farming. So this is what we are actually doing at Arid Agriculture University, and I think other universities as well, like NUST is there, LUMS is there, and NAMAL, we have a good relation with NAMAL as well. They're actually working on those, sophisticated equipment or apps. So all those universities, when they will come up together, then we are in a position that we can actually, develop this type of precision agriculture system for Pakistani farm settings. Thank you very much from my side, please.
Thank you, Dr. Chima. I think with this, we're done with the listed presentations. We have some very important individuals in the audience. So before I go for Q&A, I would like to hear from them. First, I would request Dr. Kausar Malik to say a few words on the session that he has attended. Malik Saab.
Okay. Thank you, Ikrar. I'm so glad that I'm able to participate in this very wonderful webinar. One thing which I want to say at the onset, that whatever I mean, Fakhr Imam Sahab said was the most important component of your webinar, you see. You know, I mean, for us, water is number one issue, and then comes soil, you see. You know, these are the two issues which are most important for our agriculture. And as far as water is concerned, and I'm really amazed that nobody talked about laser land levelers, you see, you know. I mean, this is one of the most elementary step towards precision agriculture. You cannot do any activity without leveling your soil. You cannot do high efficiency irrigation system without leveling the soil. And by just leveling, 30% of water is saved. You see, so why our colleagues who are experts in all this, why haven't they talked about that? You see, it is, I don't understand. And secondly, you know, I mean, if my colleagues could have some information of the activities of SUPARCO and FAO, they have jointly done lots of things as far as the satellite imagery is concerned. And they have been collaborating with the provincial crop estimation agencies as well, you see. You know, so I would urge all of you to kindly, you know, to contact them to or try to have their information, because they have all kinds of information now, you see, you know. So instead of inventing the wheel all the time, we should go, I mean, on the information available and try to add on to it, you see. And thirdly, I am a kind of a, you see, I've been advocating that since all of you know, and you have also shown us, that we have 12.5 hectare, I mean, is the subsistence farming, you see. You know, and this is about 89%, you see. With that kind of farming, you cannot employ any of your technologies, you see, you know. You have to have some kind of a social mobilization. It is a must. I mean, I have been advocating to every forum, to the government, to every place where somebody listens, that we must have minimum of 100-acre farm, you see. Below the 100-acre farm, it should not be allowed, you see, you know. And then we should do the all kinds of legislations to encourage social mobilization. That is, the farmers should retain the ownership of their land, but they should they cultivate the land in a community form. You see, this is, there might be some legal obstacles, but that must be overcome. You see, without that, all our technologies are only for the big farmers. Then you see, you know. I mean, the 89%, as you say, that are the subsistence farm, they will not be able to use all your technologies, you see. So these are some of my humble submissions, you see, and I appreciate all of you for very well presented papers, and we hope that I'm very optimistic that with Fakhr Imam's coming in, probably because he is aware of everything, you see, but he still keeps talking as if he's among us, you see, you know. He's now in the government, you see. He should now do the things that he has been talking about, you see, you know. Cotton is one, rice, wheat, these are all our important crops, and there is no rocket science that why we cannot reach the gap, you see, you know. So let's hope that we are able to do something. Thank you so much, Ikrar, and best of luck.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now I will ask Dr. Bloch and then Dr. Abdullah Al-Sadi. Dr. Bloch, sir.
We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, sir.
Now you can hear me.
Yeah, okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ikrar Sahab, for inviting me, and also congratulate you for having such a nice webinar on very important topic. And it was really informative. It was each and every presentation was very interesting, And I hope we will continue this session. And my submission and my suggestion was, as we discussed before, all the time we met, that the government should fund more to the agriculture universities of Pakistan to do research, and also put more in, and to emphasize the government to pour more efforts in agriculture in Balochistan. So no doubt precision agriculture is way forward, and government should focus on it. Thank you very much, Ikrar. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Professor Abdullah Ansari. Abdullah, please unmute yourself. Dr. Abdullah Ansari, yes.
घंटी के निशान पे क्लिक करें.
Walaikum assalam.
Sorry, I was away. I just came back. Thanks, Professor Qarar, for this webinar. I would like to thank also all the speakers. Was there any question for me?
We want to hear from you how we can keep working together.
Yes, sure, inshallah, I will keep working together. I had the pleasure of also before that working with Professor Qarar when he was at Sultan Qaboos University, and I was one of his students also in 1998, and then he was my colleague in 2006, 2007. Hopefully we'll continue working together through him and also with other colleagues. That is from my side.
Thank you, Abdullah. Okay, now we can have quick questions, maybe 5 questions, and then we will ask the panel to respond. Please unmute yourself and you're free to ask questions.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी
जी फोकस साहब प्लीज
जी डॉक्टर साहब बहुत शुक्रिया डॉक्टर साहब सबसे जो हमारा इस वक्त बड़ा इशू है वो है हमारी सॉइल की जो कंडीशन है इस वक्त ऑर्गेनिक मैटर बिल्कुल जीरो हो चुका है और यही वजह है कि हमारी पैदावार में कमी की जो सबसे बड़ी वजह अब बन रही है वो सॉइल कंडीशन है इसकी तरफ कोई तवज्जो नहीं दी जा रही उसके बाद फिर पानी आता है फिर कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन आती है फिर रिसर्च आती है मार्केटिंग आती है ये सारे लेकिन सबसे पहले हमारी जो सॉइल कंडीशन है इस वक्त वो बहुत ही खराब है जब तक उसके बारे में कुछ ना किया जाए उस वक्त तक मुमकिन नहीं है क्योंकि हमारा इस वक्त हम साल में 2, 3, 4 फसल जमीन को खाली नहीं रख रहे ग्रीन बिल्कुल नहीं कर रहे हमारा यानी कि इस वक्त बिल्कुल ऑर्गेनिक मैटर अक्सर जगह पे जीरो हो चुका है जी यहाँ पे यही हमारी पैदावार की सबसे बड़ी कमी की वजह है जिस तरफ तवज्जो कोई नहीं दे रही ना ही हुकूमत की तरफ से फिर दूसरा है कि हमारा एक्सटेंशन सर्विसेज बहुत ही कमजोर है इस वक्त हालांकि होना ये चाहिए कि इस वक्त आज फिर हमें चाहिए कि यूनिवर्सिटी को और एक्सटेंशन और रिसर्च ये एक जगह पे हो जी तभी जाके हमारा सिस्टम बेहतर हो सकता है जी थैंक यू
जी एनी अदर कमेंट्स क्वेश्चंस
जी सर हेलो
इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ एंड गो अहेड
मैं बिलाल एग्रीकल्चर इकोनॉमिक्स डिपार्टमेंट से सर मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि ज़्यादातर हमारा जो फार्म साइज़ है हमारे मुल्क में एवरेज जो फार्म साइज़ है वो बहुत कम है तो अगर हम ये जो मैकेनाइज्ड एग्रीकल्चर की तरफ जाते हैं तो एक तो सर ये पॉसिबल नहीं होगा जितना छोटा मतलब हमारा ज़्यादा स्मॉल होल्डर्स है दूसरा सर अगर लार्ज फार्मर्स की भी बात करें तो वहाँ पे भी बहुत सारे जो लेबरर्स हैं वर्कर्स हैं उनकी जो लाइवलीहुड्स हैं वो मुतासर होंगी तो इस पे आपके जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं मैं उनके व्यूज़ देना चाहूँगा थोड़े से कि क्या ये प्रैक्टिकली पॉसिबल है या क्योंकि हमारा जो कंट्री है वो लेबर इंटेंसिव है थैंक यू सर
थैंक यू जी एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस
Sir, may I ask a question? I'm Alamgir from Multan, University of Agriculture, Multan.
Please go ahead.
Yes, my question is for Travis. Travis, thank you very much. You're wonderful. Our presentation was great. But one question from Travis, you are working on image analysis. That's you incorporated all those features in the machine. we want to start the similar stuff for our mango and other fruit like citrus. Can you suggest me one thing from where we should start in our level? Because we have little experience on image analysis, but we do want to start.
Okay, I think we can go back to the panel. First of all, the issue of relevance or applicability of technology to the farm size that has been raised, and also the missing element of laser levelers, and then this mango and citrus question. So, any of the panelists? Maybe Travis first and then Dr. Kamal.
Sure. So to address the question in relation to where to start with machine vision, I wouldn't say start at the real-time stage. I would recommend first, if you're using the most advanced technique, which has more recently turned into CNN and deep learning models to be able to distinguish exactly what's in the images. Previous technologies were looking at some of the RGB images, looking at the color contrast, things like that. Deep learning is really where the technology is going, and the way of the future for image recognition. Facial recognition, it's what iPhones and similar platforms use for facial recognition, things like that. So I wouldn't jump right into that in real time. There's still a lot of research that needs to take place to make sure that works seamlessly. What can be done with the training of these models? You'll have to train it for your specific type of crop you're dealing with. So the starting point is collecting a database of images, creating a library of high resolution images. And then what has to take place is training your computer to understand what the target is in a variety of images. And when you do that and you develop your algorithm, you're able to deploy that on even a mobile device or going to the field with a laptop and a camera to see if your algorithm is going to be accurate enough to work. After that part is tried, tested, and true, then you can look into the real-time component. And that's the most difficult task, to make it work fast enough in real time to be applicable for a machine. And so what I would recommend is collecting your images, training your images, and developing a process that works stationary or in a static environment. And then after mastering that, moving to the real-time environment. So hopefully that addresses your question.
Yes, thank you very much. We will stay in contact with you in future to learn more and to go forward.
Very good. Look forward to it.
Let's go forward. Dr. Kamal Usman.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank all of our speakers and experts in precision agriculture for their input and based on their vast experience. And then also very grateful that Dr. Kausar Abdullah Malak Saab, they are, from the very beginning participated in this and commented, and they have long experience. So I met with Dr. Kausar in 2006 with Dr. Iqrar Khan introduced me with him, and I learned more about their contribution. So yes, this land leveling, that is again part of that precision agriculture, and actually should start from there. So that in this new our program, so we will again include that component. And secondly, this soil amendments like organic matter, it's again extremely important, and need to deal with this precision agriculture technology on site specific basis. And most of the places may be very low, some medium, and some and that actually we can utilize some satellite images or some drone data or ground sensing, and first we can see that how much degradation of soil is there, and then we can improve that. And third one is always that question is this farm size. So last 1 year, we have been discussing this and different options. And now I think in some cases, like again, I think land leveling, the pristine land leveling is a good example. There are some service provider and they can provide service if some farmers. Same, I think, for other mechanization, and then automation is the next step, and service provider can play a role in that. And the other is that Dr. Malak he advised for the collaborations. The one thing we forgot, this our smart farm that project with ESDP. So Sparko is our partner there, and we discussed that project, and that is I think the same like their already collected data and also their satellite imagery and drones. Those capabilities and from Sparko we wanted, and they were agreed, and we developed this together, this project proposal, and submitted. They are our partner, and NUST and LUMS we also in collaboration with them. But that advice is very useful for us because we need also some support, like they said, Fakhr Imam and that federal minister and Dr. Scientists, researcher like Dr. Qasr Abdullah Malik. They served in different organizations and at very high level positions, and Dr. Ikrar Khan. So we are hoping with all those, we will be able to develop and implement some precision agriculture technologies in Pakistani conditions.
Thank you. Before I ask the final comments from our guest of honor, Afaq Tawana Sahib, any comments from Itazaz and Azim? Please go ahead if you want to add anything. Itazaz, are you there?
Can you hear me, sir?
What? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add a comment on the soil health and the organic matter. Here in Canada, we have a crop rotation policy. For example, potatoes cannot be grown consecutively. Our issue is intensive cropping. So somehow the growers need some sort of policy from the government so that they don't lose on their profitability. At the same time, some leafy or beans or any alfalfa, grass, something like that, those crops will add on to the organic matter. So that is the solution. And also we need to look for biocircular economy, maybe adding compost back to the soil when it's done, adding our organic materials back to the soil to improve the organic matter. So that's the second suggestion. In terms of farm size, I think as Vice Chancellor already said, I think the answer is the service provider, because it will be highly unlikely that each and every grower will have access to the technology. So it has to be a service provider, small startup companies who are providing service to the grower to get over their fields. So those are my comments on the couple of questions.
Very good.
Dr. Kasab, can I add something?
Yeah, let's go in a sequence. Azim.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for giving this opportunity once again. So I would like to say that in terms of farm size, as I said, that we should go for what we can do at now with minimum resources, and that is we can fill in the data gaps. We can use what data is available, and we can, irrigate based on forecast. It doesn't matter if small size farm or large size farm. And also I would second Etazaz's point that the crop rotation is very, very important. As I said in the beginning slide, that the status quo and stagnant crop yields, we need to diversify our crops, and this has to be enforced from the government, so that farmer gets profit as well as there is environmental profit in there.
Thank you. Okay, Tivana Saab, your take as a representative of farmers.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saab. An excellent webinar. You need to be congratulated, sir, on this. As a farmer, if I were to just go back on and kind of rehash some of the presentations that were made here, Dr. Kamar spoke about, precision farming bringing in efficiency and profitability. Now, the profitability part is most important to the farmer. And so this, the efficiency and profitability part now needs to be demonstrated so that this technology can be adopted. And rather than going in for more research here in Pakistan, can everybody hear me? Hello? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir, very clear.
Yes.
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay, thank you. There are some parts of this technology
Now we
can be adopted right away here in Pakistan. So the first is hello. Yes, Suparco is doing a lot of work on this, and many international companies are also now interested to work in this field here in Pakistan. So I think of whatever is possible. So laser land leveling, as mentioned by Dr. Kausar Abdullah Malik Saab, is also something which is the low-hanging fruit. And if we add to that the auto steer system on tractors, just these three technologies will bring about a substantial, a lot spoken about the service providers coming in to do this. I also, as a farmer, believe that is the only solution. That is the only solution to bring in, even for the medium-sized and large farms. If we have efficient service provision happening within the sector, and especially within the precision agriculture operations, large farmers, small farmers, everybody will adopt these very easily, will take on the services from these people. So as a farmer, my thing with the researchers has always been that whatever is available, we do not try and adapt and adopt whatever is available on the ground, and rather we just go and start doing more and more research, almost like reinventing the wheel. Now that is, those projects are probably easier to get from HEC and from different places, but essentially the thing that the research that needs to get to the farm level, sometimes that linkage is extremely weak. So if we could get these three technologies going right away, we don't need any more research on it. We just go ahead and adopt these technologies. The Arid University has a very good project for adoption now, and I hope that that adoption process will take place not only on their own farms, but on farms of different farmers as well. Habib Bank has started a project which is quite similar. Even though they are not using precision agriculture technologies yet, but they are using service providers, people who have very modern planters and high-powered tractors, such as John Deere tractors of 130, 150 horsepower. Habib Bank is asking these service providers to go and provide services, agronomic services also to their lonely farmers. So if we could have these service providers also adopt precision agriculture technologies with the help of our universities, with the help of our research institutions, I think the adoption can take place. Maybe variable rate is still sometimes a way for us, but that doesn't matter. That time will also come. So we go step by step in adopting precision agriculture technologies. And once we are able to do that, I think it will be much easier for us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuana sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have overshot 31 minutes. We were supposed to close in 2 hours, 1 minute, which has been a very intensive webinar. The episode 1 was very easy for me. I was able to sit down and in an hour I was able to write a summary. I believe I cannot summarize this massive exercise. I will need support from the speakers to help me write something, or they write it up and I can just submit it on their behalf to Pakistan Academy of Sciences. I would like to also inform the host that our next webinar is already scheduled for 8th of August in the evening on the genetic improvement of dairy cattle. There will be a comparison of American and Pakistani experiences. We have a guest speaker from Washington State University, Pullman, and the other guest speaker is Vice Chancellor Cholistan University of Veterinary and Animal Sciences. Our discussants are also from 3 different universities, and I look forward to your participation in the next webinar. The information shall be shared with you. Thank you very much for your active participation, and I look forward to your continued support. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vikrar.